Imagine compressing the whole of human history into a single dramatic arc. For millions of years, this arc stretched lazily, sprawling with nomadic tribes roaming wild lands, following herds and seasonal cycles. Progress, if it could be called that, was slow, almost imperceptible. Then, suddenly, in the narrative told by historians of the industrial age, the arc steepened. Political, industrial, and digital revolutions, each compressed into mere decades. Humanity, according to this story, ascended quickly and decisively from wilderness to civilization. But that neat, linear story is a myth. In reality, one of the greatest transformations, the Neolithic Revolution, didn't explode onto the scene. It unfolded quietly, subtly, over thousands of years. In fact, some scholars suggest the first seeds of farming were sown as far back as the Mesolithic age, blurring the boundaries between hunter-gatherers and settled communities. Around 11,000 years ago, before factories belched smoke, before cities rose and fell, and long before gods were worshipped in temples, small bands of humans began to do something remarkable. They planted. Not everywhere at once, but independently, in scattered corners of the world, along the Yellow and Yangtze rivers in China, in the highlands of New Guinea, in the fertile soils of Mesoamerica, and most famously, in a crescent-shaped cradle that stretched from Basra to Haifa, the Fertile Crescent. They planted grains like einkorn wheat, emmer, barley, later rye. Legumes followed, flax, peas, lentils, and gradually, as if coaxed by generations of hands, these plants changed. They became more generous, more reliable. They became crops. It took time, centuries, millennia. We call this period a revolution, yet there was no single decisive moment. Agriculture wasn't invented. It emerged slowly through generations of experimentation. With plants, domestication meant choosing traits, larger grains, less shattering stalks. With animals, it meant favoring the docile, the cooperative, the ones less likely to charge. And slowly, they changed. Their skulls, their teeth, their behavior. Crops provided stability, but animals, dogs, sheep, cattle, goats, unlocked an entirely new dimension of human capability. Some theories say plants were domesticated first, then animals. Others say it was simultaneous. Historian Gordon Childe argued convincingly that the revolution wasn't truly complete until both were mastered. Others propose the secondary products revolution, the idea that people began using animals not just for meat, but for milk, wool, leather, dung, and plowing. That's a game changer. Suddenly, animals aren't just food. They're power, literally. They pull plows, grind grain, fertilize fields. They help humans conquer harder land. And they help humans move. Animals became our partners in conquest, pulling plows through tough soil, fertilizing fields, and transporting goods and people across vast distances. Rather than ending nomadism, domesticated animals enhanced it, facilitating a semi-nomadic way of life. Many societies balanced farming and herding, moving seasonally between settlements and open pastures. This semi-nomadic existence persisted remarkably long. Even into the 1600s, entire populations remained mobile, shifting pragmatically between settled agriculture and herding livestock across seasonal pastures. You see, the move toward agriculture wasn't necessarily positive. In fact, hunter-gatherers, whom some anthropologists describe as the original affluent society, enjoyed greater dietary variety, more leisure time, and generally better health. They roamed freely, guided by opportunity rather than obligation. Farming, on the other hand, introduced grueling labor, monotonous diets, seasonal vulnerability, and exposure to new diseases that spread rapidly in crowded settlements. That's why nomadism persists so long, because farming and nomadic lifestyles were not opposites, but complementary survival strategies. While animals provided mobility, crops required stability, demanding communities stay put to clear land, protect harvests, and store surplus grains. This split in lifestyle led to profound changes in humans themselves. Domestication reshaped our bodies and minds. Our teeth became crowded from new diets. Our skulls changed shape, and sexual dimorphism, physical differences between sexes, lessened. We became less robust physically, more dependent on routine and predictable environments. Wildness diminished, and humans gradually settled into structured, ordered societies. Surplus food led not just to prosperity, but to hierarchy, specialization, and eventually the rise of kings and states. These new authorities imposed taxes, organized forced labor, and erected monuments that symbolized both achievement and coercion. Here's the thing. The civilization came with a price. You had to share, even when you had less. You were assigned work you didn't choose, your time, your body, your freedom, no longer your own. So, when things got bad enough, people left. They slipped back into the forests, the steppes, the old ways. And often, they didn't even have a choice. Because these early civilizations were fragile. A drought, a flood, a plague, and the whole system collapsed. Civilization wasn't a one-way street. It rose, it fell, it reverted. Over and over. Take the Great Wall of China. Not merely a barrier against invaders, but also a boundary to contain populations within tax-collecting states. You see, civilizations required more than monuments. It needed workers and taxpayers, builders and soldiers. So when someone fled to the open steppe or to the wilds of the Americas, they were often choosing freedom over monuments. Today, we think of people quitting their white-collar jobs for a rural retreat as modern escapism. But it's ancient, timeless. Because not everyone wants to be part of the system. Not then, not now. Civilization offers grandeur, but at a price. It raises life expectancy, supports more children, enables art, law, science, but it also demands submission. It brings hierarchy, disease, inequality, depression, and yet it endures. Because evolution doesn't favor comfort, it favors survival. The first farmer might have lived a shorter, harsher life than the last forager, but they left behind a lineage that reshaped the world. This is the central paradox. Agriculture was both a burden and a foundation. It was not simply about producing food, but about power, permanence, and a new way of viewing the world, not as a wilderness to be inhabited, but as land to be managed, cultivated, and controlled. Farming wasn't a mistake, nor was it purely beneficial. It was a brutal yet brilliant strategy for survival. A strategy that irreversibly shaped our species. Today, our food and societies bear little resemblance to those ancient origins. Corn, wheat, rice, all significantly transformed by generations of selective breeding. And we have changed as well. Our bodies smaller, our health shaped by diets we invented thousands of years ago. Our minds expanded to dream of gods, cities, trade, writing, empires, the industrial age, the digital age, everything. And yet, we must never forget, the price was steep. The farmer may have sown the seed of civilization, but they reaped little comfort. Their reward was not ease, but continuity. They labored so others could build, rule, write, and remember. So the next time you hear of a revolution, remember this one. It had no flags, no propaganda, no slogans, no names etched in history, only hands in the dirt. And that is how it all began. Because it didn't end, it still continues to unfold. We are still domesticating new crops, still pushing the boundaries of agricultural productivity through industrialization, automation, and genetic engineering.